Penguin Random House Audio presents The Darwinian Trap, the hidden evolutionary forces that explain our world and threaten our future, by Kristian Rönn, read for you by Jamie Renell. This audiobook includes a bonus PDF of charts, graphs, and diagrams. We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. E. O. Wilson. Prologue. The Parable of Pitcher. At the dawn of the 21st century, Pitcher, Oklahoma was arguably the unluckiest town in America. For decades, its population had steadily declined, and not just because of the lack of jobs there. Pitcher's infant mortality rate was unusually high. The town was pockmarked with sinkholes, and the people of Pitcher, young and old alike, seemed uniquely prone to serious illness, heart disease, lung disease, cancer, and many other ailments. Every town nearby had suffered since the demise of the mining industry there, but Pitcher seemed particularly cursed. The town's curse had once been its lifeblood. Pitcher sits in the far northeastern corner of Oklahoma, at the edge of the Ozark Plateau, near the triple border with Kansas and Missouri, in an area known as the Tri-State region. While the region might strike contemporary travelers as desolate, a century ago it boasted an immense commercial advantage: vast mineral deposits buried deep underground. In the 1920s, the Tri-State region mined more zinc and lead than anywhere else in the world, at a time when those minerals were critical to the production of paint, pipes, brass, housewares, armaments, and many other important goods. The miners of Pitcher had a nickname for the zinc and lead that abounded there: King Jack. For decades, Jack was a generous monarch. The Tri-State lead and zinc mines paid high wages, allowing the miners to build relative wealth while the surrounding region flourished. There is probably no town in the world that has changed so much in the last year or two as Pitcher, a local newspaper boasted in 1920. New structures were rising every day: shops, cinemas, a bowling alley, and increasingly the mounds of accumulated mining detritus known as chat piles. A miner's output went directly to a mill, where pressure was applied to extract the valuable metals from the surrounding ore. The remaining ore and rock were reduced to a particulate substance known as mine tailings, or chat. In Pitcher, those tailings were dumped in heaping piles on the outskirts of town. These chat piles soon overshadowed any of the man-made structures in Pitcher, with some rising as high as 200 feet. When the wind blew, it carried a fine mist of pulverized ore and silica dust that drifted through people's lives and lungs. The boom didn't last. It never does, and the work dried up as the mineral deposits dwindled. By the 1960s, the Pitcher mines had been picked clean, leaving behind a declining population of unemployed laborers, mine widows, and the mountainous chat piles whose presence evoked better days. As time passed, doctors noticed an alarming rate of other ailments among those who remained in and around Pitcher: blood diseases and cognitive impairments, and various types of cancer. In his 1940 film Men in Dust, the photographer Sheldon Dick had depicted the high incidence of debilitating illness among the region's residents: silicosis, tuberculosis, malnutrition, general diseases. In the meantime, they sicken. In the meantime, they die. The narrator intones as the camera lingers on a shot of a makeshift graveyard. "Give us health, give us work, give us life," he says at the end of the brief documentary, his voice soon rising to a plaintive cry: "Give us health, give us work, give us life." But the people of Pitcher would get none of those things. More than half a century after Dick's documentary, studies showed that locals contracted the lung disease pneumoconiosis at a rate 2,000% higher than the national average. In the 1990s, another study showed that 38.3% of the children in Pitcher had elevated blood lead levels, compared with 2% of children in the rest of the state. The key to these diagnoses was readily apparent. You could find it among the dead fish in the local creek, which had grown toxic as soon as the abandoned mines filled up with groundwater. In the swimming holes where children would play on hot summer days, sometimes to emerge with their hair turned orange from the acidic waters. And yes, in the massive chat piles, which had carried metallic dust and trace amounts of lead into locals' bloodstreams for decades. In the early 1980s, the Environmental Protection Agency proclaimed the region one of the most contaminated areas in the United States. By the 2000s, Pitcher and its environs were so toxic that state and federal agencies offered cash buyouts to encourage its few remaining residents to leave. Today, Pitcher is a bona fide ghost town, its once lively streets empty, except for rotting buildings and the dust blowing off the chat piles. Lead and zinc put Pitcher, Oklahoma on the map. 100 years later, they have erased it from the face of the earth. The wrong way to kill a rat. Why did things go so wrong in Pitcher? How did an industrial process meant to meet the world's needs end up destroying an entire region? It's tempting to blame the era's mining executives for being so heedless of worker safety and environmental health. But, cathartic though it may be to portray the Pitcher bigwigs as sneering Dickensian villains, it's unlikely that they intended to give their employees cancer and leave the town a poisonous wasteland. Their real goal, presumably, was just to capitalize on the bull market for lead and zinc by getting those minerals out of the ground as fast as possible. Instead of interpreting the story of Pitcher as a simple tale of corporate greed, I view it as a parable that illuminates a much broader point. When people or groups choose to optimize around narrow goals, such as quickly and efficiently mining valuable minerals, they often end up creating unintended negative consequences for other people and the broader environment. This phenomenon isn't limited to the minerals industry or to the world of business. The same dynamic occurs in biology, psychology, economics, politics, human resources, sustainable development, virology, artificial intelligence, and other fields. You have almost certainly sensed it in your workplace, in the dating pool, and in other familiar settings. Stories of optimization gone wrong recur throughout the history of biological life and human societies. From the smallest cancer cells replicating at the expense of the body to the largest civilizations pursuing ghoulish nuclear arms races that threaten to destroy all that those civilizations have built, simple and complex systems alike are routinely subverted by myopic success strategies that create more problems than they solve. When people and organizations focus intently on achieving one specific goal, they can inadvertently thwart the pursuit of more holistically meaningful outcomes, such as well-being, safety, or prosperity. In other words, when we feel compelled to pursue narrow success metrics, and when these metrics become detached from the values that we actually care about, then, as in Pitcher, we can lose sight of the big picture and bring about widespread harmful consequences. These consequences aren't always as cataclysmic as they were in Pitcher. Take, for example, the darkly comic story of the Great Hanoi Rat Massacre. In 1902, the Vietnamese capital had a rat problem, and French colonial officials had a bright idea for how to solve it. They would offer a cash bounty for every rat tail that residents brought to city officials. The French surely assumed that the prospect of a per-tail cash reward would inspire entrepreneurial exterminators to enter the city's sewers and make their fortunes, one dead rat at a time, until the rat problem was under control. In practice, things worked out very differently. The rat catchers of Hanoi soon realized the limits of the bounty program. If they succeeded in eliminating the rats, then the program would end, and they would lose their meal ticket. So instead of killing the rats, these clever souls began cutting off their tails and setting them free to go procreate and produce more vermin. As the program continued, the French were surprised to find that the city's rat population continued to flourish. Some entrepreneurs went so far as to start breeding rats at home. Others set up full-fledged rat farms out in the countryside. Within months of its launch, the beleaguered French canceled the bounty program entirely.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?